The freely comes of the press at last on September 18, El Filibusterismo came of the press. Rizal, now a very happy man, immediately sent on this day 2 printed copies to Hong Kong, one for Basa and the other for Sicto Lopez. To his friend in Paris, Valentin Ventura, who generously feigned him the funds needed to finish the printing of the novel Rizal. Gratefully donated the original manuscript and autography, printed copy. He sent other complementary copies to Blumentritt, Mariano Ponce G. Lopez Jaime Th, Pardo de Tavera, Antonio and Juan Luna, and other friends.
The members of the Filipino colony of Barcelona publisher a tribute in La Publicidad, a Barcelona newspaper. The novel original style, which is comparable only to the sublime Alexander Dumas, and may well be offered as a model and a precious jewel in the now decayed literature of Spain. The liberal Madrid newspaper El Nuevo Regimen and serialized the novel in its issue of October 1891. Practically all copies of the first edition, Gent edition of El Fili were placed in modern boxes and shipped to the Hong Kong, but almost all the boxes were confiscated, and the books were lost. So it came to pass that the book immediately became rare and few available Gent copies were sold at very high prices, searching as high as 100 pieces per copies.
Okay, first of all, good day everyone. So I am Ge109 from BTBTE CRT Gimba. So for today's video, itutur namin kayo at i-discuss namin sa inyo kung ano-ano ba yung mga pinuntahan ng ating pambansang bayani na walang iba kundi si Dr. Jose Rizal. So unang-una na nga dito is yung arrive in Hong Kong. Rizal arrived in Hong Kong on November 20, 1891. He was welcomed by the Filipino residents, especially his old friend Jose Mabasa. He established his residence at number 5 Dis Aguilar Street, number 2 Red Naxila Terrace, where he also opened his medical clinic. So on December 1, 1891, he wrote his parents asking their permission to return home. On the same date, his brother-in-law Manuel T. Higaldo sent him a letter. So relating the sad news of the deportation of 25 persons from Calamba, including Father Neneng Sisa, Lucia and Pasiano, and the rest of us. Higaldo also stated in his letter that he was preparing to letter to the Queen Regent of Spain to explaining the Calamba situation in order to secure justice. If the Queen will not listen, he said he will write to Queen Victoria of England appealing to protection in the name of humanity. Next, Higaldo's letter clearly revealed the despair and sorrow of the Rizal family. Dr. Rizal in Hong Kong, so close to Manila, was desperately sad, or he could not secure his persecuted family and relatives. Now, let's move on to the next part, which is ophthalmic surgeon in Hong Kong. So to earn a living for himself and for his family, Rizal practiced medicine. A Portuguese physician, Dr. Lorenzo P. Marquez, who became his friend and admirer, helped him to build up wide clientele in recognition of Rizal's skill as an ophthalmic surgeon. He turned over to him many of his high case. In due time, Dr. Rizal became a successful and well-known medical practitioner in the British colonial. He had many patients including British, Chinese, Portuguese, and Americans. He successfully operated on his mother's left eyes that she was able to read and write again. So aside from being an eye, especially, he was generally practitioner writing to Blumerin on January here many we of 31. 192, and he said here one of practices.
Ngayon, tatalakayin naman natin si Dr. Jose Rizal kasama ang kanyang mga kaibigan sa Europa na sina Juan at Antonio Luna, Lopez Hena, Jr. So, si Dr. Bautista din at iba pa ay masigasig na inendorso ang kanyang proyekto sa kolonisasyon ng Borneo. Ipinahayag ni Lopez Hena ang kanyang pagnanais na sumali sa kolonya. Ngayon, sumulat si Lopez Hena kay Dr. Jose Rizal noong May 26, 1890. Sinabi niya na gusto niyang sumama sa kanya sa Borneo. Ang Borneo ay isang lupa kung saan maaari siya ditong magtanim. Ninanais magtanim kasi dito ni Lopez Hena upang siya ay magtanim ng tubo na panggawa ng asukal. So, ngayon, yung isa sa mga bayaw ni Rizal na si Hidalgo, ang matapang na Batonggenyo ay tumutol sa proyekto ng kolonisasyon. Ang ideyang ito ay tungkol sa Borneo. Sabi niya kay Rizal ay hindi maganda. Bakit daw natin iiwan ang Pilipinas? Itong ating magandang bansa. At bukod sa anong ibig sabihin ng mga tao, bakit natin ginawa ang lahat ng mga sakripisyong ito? Bakit daw kailangan pang pumunta sa ibang bansa? So, sa paniniwalang si Gobernador Despujol ay tapat sa kanyang magagandang pangako ng isang mas mabuting pamahalaan. Ngayon, pinadalhan siya ni Dr. Jose Rizal ng liham ng papuri at nag-alok ng kanyang pakikipagtulungan. Ang Gobernador General na lumabag sa simpleng tuntunin ng kagandahang loob ng Kastila ay hindi man lang kinilala ang pagtanggap ng kanyang liham. So, matapos ang walang kabuluhang paghihintay ng 3 buwan para sa tugon sa kanyang unang liham na may kung kailan sumulat si Rizal ng pangalawang liham na noong Marso 21, 1892 at ibinigay ito sa isang kapitan ng barko. So, muli ay hindi binigyan ni Despujol si Rizal. Hindi man lang sumagot si Despujol kay Rizal. Sa halip, inabisuhan siya ng Spanish general sa Hong Kong upang sabihin kay Rizal na hindi niya maaaring aprubahan ang Filipino immigration sa Borneo. Na sinasabing ang Pilipinas kulang sa mga manggagawa at hindi napaka-patriotic na umalis at magtanim ng dayuhang lupa. At ipinagpatuloy na ni Dr. Jose Rizal ang kanyang pagsusulat sa Hong Kong. He wrote, "Ang karapatan ng tao which is a Tagalog translation of the rights of man proclaimed by the French Revolution in 1789. And also he wrote a la Nación Española to the Spanish nation, which is an appeal to Spain. And next is he wrote entitled Sa Mga Kababayan. So my countrymen was written in December 1891, explaining the Calamba agrarian situation. So Rizal contributed articles to the British daily newspaper, the Hong Kong Telegraph. And he also wrote Una Visita a la Victoria Gaol on March 2, 1892. Yan lamang ay isa sa mga isinulat ni Dr. Jose Rizal sa Hong Kong. And last but not the least is he wrote La Mano Hora, the Red Hand, which was printed sheet form in Hong Kong.
Good day everyone, I'm Angela Rose T. Crisostomo, BTBT2 from Ge109. Decision to return to Manila. In May 1892, Rizal made up his mind to return to Manila. The decision by the following: the first one is confer with governor regarding his Borromeo consolidation project, and the second one is establish the Liga Filipina in the Manila, and the third one is to prove that Eduardo was wrong in attacking him in Madrid, that Rizal, being seat in Hong Kong, had abandoned the country's attack, which printed in La de Rizalidad rather. On April 15, 1892, Rizal portrayed in his world. Only Rizal restate then Pilar, edited by that saying that I'm more convenient to the day in writing the article was hostly, and you prevented yourself, and to be carried away, friend or enemy. If the article has harmed me, it would harm more the interests of the Philippines. Who knows, however, if after all, it was all the best. It has shaken me awake, and after long silence, I entered that field anew, and I'm going to activate the propaganda again for the Liga. The Ponce Rizal confirmed on May 23, 1892, says that I am very sorry that Del Pilar allowed the article to be published because it will lead me to believe that there is a real scheme among us. And I believe that we can well have little misunderstanding and personal differences among ourselves without them in public. As for myself, I always welcome archadism because they improve who those who do. Last Hong Kong letters. Relatives and friends of Rizal opposed his decision to return home because it was like birding the lions of their den. His sister Trinidad tearfully wanted to be deceased for here they kill you. Not even for the death of Peter Rizal from his decision on June 18, 1892, Her spent his 31st birthday in Hong Kong. Eventually, he had the promotion of his death. For the following day, June 20, he wrote 2 letters which he sealed, inscribable on each developed to be opened by his dead or the dead. And he gave that his friends, Dr. Marquez, for the affection that I have ever proposed for you suggests this step, and time alone can tell whether or not is accessible. The outcomes judges things are according to the consequences. But whether the results for the favorable and unfavorable, it may always be said that duty urged me to identify that doing it will not matter. I realize how much suffering I was caused, yet I do not regret what I have done. Rather, if to begin over again, I should do just the same for what I have done. Having only pursued the duty, gladly do I give to expose myself to prevail not as an explanation of mindset, for in the matter I believe myself guiltless of any, but not completed my work, so that I myself and offer examples of which I have always preached. A man ought to die for the duty and his principles. I hold fast to every idea which I have advanced at this the condition of future of the country, and shall willingly to for it, willingly to do it, and even were willingly to sacrifice all the sorrow. With pleasure then I risk life to save so many innocent persons, so many nieces and nephews, so many children of friends and children to others are not even friends who are not suffering on my account. What I am, bachelor, particularly with a family, undecided as to life, I have so many disappointments and future before. And the day that better for my native land, on the other hand, there are persons filled with a hope and ambition, who perhaps might be happier, so many entirely innocent people to entertain, or certain extent their herd justable, myself and my parents are relative. Should fate and against, you will understand that I will die happy in the thought, in way that will end your troubles, return to our country. I still be thinking of you and wishing all the good for need and happiness. The second letter addressed to the Filipinos is as follows. The step which I'm taking rather about to risky and unsternly, I say that I have considered it for myself. I understand and I almost everyone I suppose to it. I cannot live in the scene of the seeing so many suffering persons, and I cannot better than slide from our sisters. They are worrying also so many innocent persons. I appreciate the fact that they present pure the country creatives in some. They appreciate the fact that the present of the future of our country. Besides, I wish to show those who deny as the bottom of position that we know how to die for the duty of principles. What matters that it's one dies for one loves, for natives and loving held dear. If I thought I would were only resource for the communication of policy of progress in the Philippines, and were I convinced that my countrymen were going to make use for my service, perhaps I should hesitate about taking the steps. Before that, in others who can take my place, who my service that are utilized and I'm recreated in activity, always have a loved and happy land. And I am sure that shall continue living it all my last moment, in case men unjust for my career, my life, and going to be an interrupt. On June 21, 1892, Rizal penned the other letter in Hong Kong. For the governor independently, third letter discounted and the Spanish evidence in under production on the same date, June 21st. Rizal, his sister Lucia, withdrew there. If I thought that I was the only resource for the assurance of the policy progress in the Philippines, and I was convinced that my countrymen were going to make us of my services, perhaps I should hesitate about taking the step, but there are the other words can take me place, who my services that are not utilized, and I'm resourced to an activity. Always I have loved or unhappy had, and I'm sure that I shall.
Good day everyone, I am Jo Padua Balakidan, PTVTE from CRT Cabanatuan, and I'm here to present my topic, which is the defenders of Dinoli. So before I start, what is Noli Me Tangere? Noli Me Tangere is an 1887 novel by Filipino writer and activist, which is Jose Rizal, published during the Spanish colonial period of the Philippines. It explores perceived inequities in law and practice in terms of the treatment by ruling government and Spanish Catholic friars of the resident peoples. Denali Metangere found another staunch defender in the person of Catholic theologian of Manila Cathedral in Father Vicente Garcia, under the pen name Josito Desiderio Magalang. Father Garcia wrote a very scholarly defense of Denali, claiming among other things that Rizal cannot be an ignorant man, being the product of Spanish official and corrupt friars, he himself who had warned the people of committing moral sin if they read the novel had therefore committed such sin, for he has read the novel. Consequently, realizing how much Denali had awakened his countrymen to the point of defending his novel, Rizal said, "Now I die content." Fittingly, Rizal found it timely and effect gesture to dedicate his novel to the country of his people, whose experiences and sufferings he wrote about, sufferings which he brought to the light in an effort to awaken his countrymen to the truths that had long remained unspoken, although not totally unheard of. So that would be all. Thank you for listening, and God bless.